From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Health officials in Butte say the new COVID-19 vaccine may be the light at the end of the tunnel.
And later here on Montana This Morning, we'll take a look back at 40 years ago, the death of John Lennon.
Wow.
His impact on the music industry later here on Montana This Morning.
Wow.
Yeah,
Looking forward to
40 years.
that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it is 6:30 on your Wednesday. You are watching Montana This Morning.
Made
Thanks
it.
for joining us. I know. It's insane.
Last half hour of Montana This Morning on
Last
this
half hour
Wednesday
of
morning.
Montana This Morning, 16 days till Christmas, and we're going to have a gorgeous day, right?
Yeah, we are. Hey,
a lot of numbers.
I wanted to share with you guys a picture
my
I
jam.
grabbed yesterday because it's not that it's unusual, it's just not.
We don't see it all that often,
No,
though. Yeah.
lenticular clouds. Those were over yesterday over the bridgers. We do see them a lot of times in the Mountain West. They can be off in the Midwest as well, but very cool clouds. That almond-shaped cloud, very flat, beautiful clouds. If you ever see those, take a picture, send them in. I'd love to highlight them. Temperatures into the 20s this morning for most of the areas. Strongest winds up the Madison Valley out toward Livingston. Those areas are probably going to be the highlight for the winds for the afternoon. Daytime highs today still mild into the mid to upper 40s. We may see a couple of people report 50s for the afternoon today, but I think they're few and far between. We are about to see a shift in our pattern. We'll talk more about what that means for your weekend ahead. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Fingers crossed on those 50s.
Yeah.
Well, after a 4-hour meeting Tuesday morning with members of the COVID-19 task force, Butte's top health officer is feeling confident the state is a step closer to defeating the coronavirus.
MTN's John Amy has more.
The end of the coronavirus pandemic may be just a shot away.
I am very optimistic with the vaccine distribution plan on the horizon. I think it's our way out. I think our lives will be returned to us maybe in a half year.
Sullivan is on Governor-elect Greg Gianforte's COVID-19 task force, and after a recent meeting, she's feeling confident in the administration's willingness to address the pandemic.
But I'm really pleased that the governor-elect has made clear that COVID-19 is his priority. I think his philosophy, if I'm reading it right from the discussions I've been involved in, how do you keep people safe yet reopen the economy?
This month, St. James Healthcare in Butte will receive 975 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to be given out to hospital staff and frontline workers. More doses of the Moderna vaccine are expected to arrive here by the end of the year.
As we go down this path with the vaccination, our world is going to improve.
Once a vaccine is readily available, it will not be mandated that people get vaccinated. But health officials say the best way to get rid of this virus is for everyone to get vaccinated.
There's a lot of anti-vaccine fervor in our country, and part of our role will be to educate and talk through with a vaccine-hesitant public.
Sullivan said the vaccine should be available to the general public by early spring. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
Again, as John just said, Sullivan expects that vaccine available to the general public by early next spring.
Well, the pilot is hospitalized Tuesday morning after crashing his plane at the Dillon Airport. Beaverhead Sheriff Paul Craft said a man flying a small Cessna crashed while attempting a landing at the airport about 9 a.m. The pilot was transported to Barrett Hospital and Healthcare in Dillon, but his condition has not been released. The plane was coming from Gallatin County before crashing at the airport, located about 3 miles northeast of Dillon. The identity of the pilot has not been released.
I was up on scene. I did see him. I didn't have any conversation, but I saw that he was talking to the EMTs and medical professionals up there. So I know he was somewhat alert and conscious, and they transported him out of there.
Again, no identity released on that pilot yet. We'll bring you information as soon as we have it.
6:34 now. Bozeman Job Service says if you're looking for work, there's lots of jobs in the Gallatin Valley. Remember, Job Service Bozeman is part of the Montana Works program and the Montana Department of Labor and Industry. They help their clients spruce up their resumes, help them find work in Gallatin Park, Madison, and Marr counties. Holly Wolf, a supervisor with Job Service Montana, said there are around 1,175 open jobs in the Gallatin Valley area.
So right now what we're looking at is the influx of temporary sales and stocking from like the retail industry. Restaurants and fast food are looking for people, so that's increasing because of whatever dynamic they've been able to adjust to the COVID procedures.
Now, due to the pandemic, at Job Service Bozeman meeting with clients virtually. You can learn how to make an appointment by visiting our websites.
Well, students across America are in virtual learning without some of the basics.
Yeah, so volunteers are doing their own homework, building desks for students who don't have one. Chloe Nordquist reports.
Over the past month, Eric Genota's garage has become a workshop, fueled by a good cause.
Me personally, I've built around 25 desks.
Making desks for kids who don't have them.
And we found out there was a huge need for them.
Kim Gonsalves helps Eric run Desks for Kids, their way of helping kids in need who are learning from home.
We first heard about it because Eric's brother lives in Maryland, and we found out about Desks by Dads because his brother started building with Desks by Dads.
The Desks by Dads organization has inspired people across the U.S. like Eric and Kim.
It's like a group in Michigan, a group over here in another state where they're building desks. So it's, it started with Desks by Dads, and a lot of them reference Desks by Dads.
I thought, I can build a dozen desks. That seems a reasonable amount of time and effort and money. And I got into it, and we started looking at the need, and it was more than 200 desks are needed just for our little suburb.
So they got to work.
We started just using our own money, just buying up some plywood and some supplies, and now it's just sort of grown a little bit.
With the help of monetary donations, wood donations, and others offering to build desks, they are now working with schools to deliver desks to those who need them most.
They're doing their distance learning all day long on the bed or on the floor.
Back at the beginning of the school year, when it became clear many students who went home in the spring still would not go back to face-to-face learning, economists saw kid desks and other supplies go out of stock. Now, as a second wave of COVID-19 sends students home again, the need is still great.
What we saw with desks is the same thing we saw with many other things, that the pandemic has created new markets for just more of existing products that become more important in a pandemic.
Economist Matt Klaus says desks are a great example of people finding ways to fill supply needs when there's a demand.
When we have a situation where there's a demand for a product and there's not enough of it being produced, then economic theory says that suppliers will convert resources if they can, and they'll start producing what's necessary.
And that's exactly what these volunteer builders are doing, using the resources available to help fill a need.
If you're a family who needs a desk, you could contact your school and say, are you in touch with any builders who are building desks and giving them away? Everyone can make a difference. If you have $22, you can donate to a builder. They can build a desk for a kid.
As the desks are built, Kim and Eric load them up and drive them off to where they are needed most.
And to know that you're making just a little bit of difference, because you wish you could help more. There's more things they might need than just a desk. But this might just help that student be a little more successful this year.
And then it's just blossoming to see the community pull together. It's really given me a lot of hope in a year that's been pretty terrible.
I'm Chloe Nordquist, reporting.
That is so fantastic.
I love that too.
That is a real need. I mean, your environment when you're learning
$22.
is everything.
$22.
So that's what that desk is. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, turning now to a memorable day in music history. Yesterday marked 40 years since one of the greatest tragedies to hit the music world, the death of John Lennon.
Michael George looks back at that day and the legacy Lennon leaves behind.
Fans of John Lennon came together at the memorial in Central Park known as Strawberry Fields.
One of the greatest artists, philosophers, humanitarians.
Some of these fans were also right here on that tragic night 40 years ago when the Beatles legend was gunned down outside his apartment at the age of 40.
Came here at night with a big crowd of people and sang songs and cried. Very sad day I'll never forget.
I was, driving along a road and a song came on and it just hit me. and the tears started flowing.
Charles Rosenay is a Beatles expert who published a magazine about the band. He says Lennon was one of the most influential musicians of all time, but his death transcended music.
What we lost that night was not the killing of one rock star. What we lost is somebody who till today would have probably given us great insight.
Lennon's widow, Yoko Ono, marked the day, tweeting that his death was a hollowing experience and that she and his sons still miss him. And former Beatle Paul McCartney tweeted, "A sad, sad day, but remembering my friend John with the great joy he brought to the world."
Imagine all the people.
And even 40 years later, John Lennon's legacy lives on. Fans like Mike Egan say his music and his message of peace are timeless.
Just a legend, taken too soon, and it's just really amazing that we have this place to keep remembering him by.
Still inspiring millions, a generation after he left us. In New York, Michael George, CBS News.
By the way, the man convicted of killing John Lennon, Mark David Chapman, remains behind bars in an upstate New York prison. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow.
Just getting ready to start high school.
Well, I do not remember it like it was yesterday,
No,
but
yeah. I'm
but
the only person in the building who does.
But my
anyway.
last concert was Paul McCartney, so I am a
There you
Beatles
go.
fan.
And singing the music of his partner, John Lennon.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh. Well, when Montana This Morning returns, we'll take a look at some other headlines from across the country and around the world, including news of the world's tallest mountain getting just a little bit taller.
But first, to check in with our friends at CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, as states struggle to control the coronavirus, the FDA could push through an emergency authorization of Pfizer's COVID vaccine as early as this week. Hear President-elect Biden's ambitious plan to fight the pandemic. Plus, Walgreens will help administer the coronavirus vaccine once it's approved by the U.S. government. First on CBS This Morning, a top Walgreens executive discusses the company's plan for distribution. And with many of us staying home for the holidays, we'll give you some fun movie and book suggestions to keep you busy. I could use a few of those. All that coming up when we see you at 7.